The US is sending in fighter jets to the Middle East, specifically the F-15E and the A-10, to support deterrence efforts in case Iran or any other country tries to escalate what is happening in Israel and the Gaza Strip. Israel is battling Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization deemed so by Israel, the United States, and lots of other countries, as well as Hezbollah being in the area, has made the United States very, very concerned about what could happen if Hezbollah and Hamas decide to team up. And you can bet when it comes to terrorist organizations, they definitely don't bat an eye when it comes to working with each other. You're looking at Hamas, who has somewhere around 15 to 30,000 fighters, and Hezbollah, which has anywhere from 50 to 100,000 fighters. They're all right there surrounding Israel, which creates a situation where Israel can get pinched. And that is what happened when Israel was attacked. The recent attacks caused about 1,400 deaths in Israel, and hundreds of Israelis and American citizens were taken hostage. Now, when it comes to what the United States will do in Israel itself, that is up for debate. But with US citizens being held hostage, US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin has said that nothing is off the table when it comes to getting these hostages back. F-15Es and A-10s are being sent to the region, as well as the 2nd Carrier Strike Group. When it comes to the number of F-15Es and A-10s, most likely you're looking at a global response force. A global response force is typically a single squadron that can respond to any threats around the world within 48 hours, and that's an impressive number. Most likely you're looking at anywhere from 10 to 18 fighter jets that will be a part of the F-15E Global Response Force and the A-10 Global Response Force. The 494th Mighty Black Panthers are the F-15Es that are responding to this crisis. They are arriving in theater at an undisclosed location, most likely somewhere in UAE, Qatar, or even possibly Jordan. These F-15Es are primarily there to deter Iran from taking any hostile action that expands this conflict beyond what they've already done, because reports have said that the major attack by Hamas was actually supported by Iran, which brings up an interesting point. How far does Iran have to go before the US will actually intervene directly and send a message to Iran that they won't tolerate any type of engagement with Israel through proxy forces like Hamas or Hezbollah? Secretary of Defense for the United States Lloyd Austin said the movement of these aircraft and the 2nd Carrier Strike Group are part of our effort to deter hostile actions against Israel or any effort towards widening this war following Hamas's attack on Israel. A few days ago, Hamas attacked Israel in the most unprecedented attack in recent history. Israel hasn't had an attack like this since the 40s. Thousands of rockets were shot into Israel by Hamas. And that's an interesting fact, because up to this point, it's been determined that Hamas has not had any ability to direct these rockets or to guide these rockets. Their technology is definitely advancing, which brings up the question, why is their technology advancing and how are they getting all this funding? Iran, we're looking at you. But luckily, Israel had technology called the Iron Dome, which is an anti-rocket system which can shoot down rockets that are coming into friendly territory for Israel. But with thousands of rockets flying in, there's bound to be a few that get through, and that caused a massive amount of civilian casualties in Israel, as well as the fact as hundreds or even 1,000 gunmen stormed into the Gaza Strip and took hostage hundreds of Israelis and killed roughly 1,400 Israelis throughout that process, which is a terrorist attack that Israel has never seen before. So that definitely sparks concern for the United States, making sure that Israel has the ability to defend itself, and coming to their aid in any way they can is most likely at the top of the list for the United States. But the US can't just directly intervene, and they most likely don't need to, due to Israel's capability and the fighter jets that Israel has. Israel has some of the best capable fighter pilots that I've ever heard of, and they're piloting the F-16, the F-15E, and it's actually an adaptation of the F-15E, which is called the EI or EX, depending on who you ask. At the end of the day, it comes down to having the latest technology inside that Strike Eagle, and that's what Israel has. They have that 2-seat Strike Eagle that's able to target and do close air support like they have been doing on the Gaza Strip with the hundreds of airstrikes that they've created so far. Now, when it comes to airstrikes, there's going to be collateral damage, which is a tragedy no matter what side you're on. But at the end of the day, neutralizing these terrorists is obviously at the top of the list for Israel. So the F-15E is uniquely suited to execute close air support, and that's exactly what they're doing in the Gaza Strip. Now, Israel is most likely going to have crosstalk with US F-15E squadrons. So not that they need the support of the US's metal, but using tactics that the US has learned in Afghanistan and in Iraq fighting ISIS, they're essentially going to need the exact same tactics when they go into these cities and start to root out Hamas. Now, you're going to need special operations forces, you're going to need ground forces, and that's currently what Israel is preparing for at the time of this video. But you're going to need highly trained JTACs, joint terminal air controllers on the ground that can guide in weapons and tell air crew where hostile targets are, where insurgents are, because Hamas is going to enact guerrilla warfare. They're going to be embedded in the population, they're going to be embedded with civilians, and they're going to cover themselves with children, women, men. Anyone who is a civilian and is innocent is at risk of being essentially a shield for Hamas. And it's not exactly what you think. It's not like they're going to be standing in the street holding someone. I mean, maybe, but they might position themselves in schools, in mosques, in civilian areas that might be really hard to target without collateral damage. So that's why you bring in the 20 mic. And a 20 mic is a 20mm gun that's outfitted on the F-15E, and it's outfitted on the Israeli F-15s that they're flying as well. It's the same weapon. It's a 20mm cannon. And the ideal situation with that is you're able to strafe and target insurgents, and you do not create collateral damage. So it's a little more discerning than what a 500-pound bomb would be, or a 2,000-pound bomb, obviously. So at the end of the day, using that is going to be much better of a situation in urban conflict. Now, ideally, no urban conflict would be the best, but when you look at these terrorist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah, you're looking at people that you can't reason with. And most likely it's the same type people that were in ISIS or that were in Afghanistan and disrupting Afghanistan. A lot of these groups were funded by Iran as well. So on a personal note, when I was flying combat missions in Afghanistan, a lot of the groups and a lot of the special teams that were in Afghanistan causing disruption, they were carrying Russian mortars, they were carrying Chinese-made 50 caliber machine guns, they were mounting them to the back of Toyota Hiluxes. We were targeting them, and they were essentially funded by Iran. Iran would fund hundreds of these teams throughout the Pakistan-Afghan border, and that would just disrupt the region and keep the US kind of focused on this while they were doing other things to disrupt and sway and push their agenda in the region. So they're going to use that same playbook when it comes to this conflict in Israel on the Gaza Strip. They're going to use those exact same tactics to support Hamas, to disrupt and destabilize the region. And Iran loves it when the US is distracted. So knowing that the US is focused on this part of Israel makes them think that, hey, we can do other things in Iraq that help sway the region to the political swings that they want. So when it comes to the carrier strike group, you're looking at possibly 8 squadrons on that strike group. So 4 of those being fighter squadrons and 4 being reconnaissance and support squadrons. And those squadrons can interact with the F-15Es and the A-10s that are deployed in the region as well. On a personal note, flying combat missions in Afghanistan, I was taking the place of F-18s and they were taking my place over certain target responsibilities on a daily basis. So having air power projected with carriers and having land-based options is huge. Having those carrier options is amazing because you can park that carrier right off the coast of any country you want, especially if you had to go in to help support Israel, which again, I don't think we will, and the Secretary of Defense has said we won't, but the fact is you can. But bigger than that, that carrier strike group is there to show Iran that the US can project power, and that if they try to expand the conflict, they're going to be faced head on with a swarm of hornets. And then having the land-based option with the F-15E in theater provides a unique capability, and on another personal note, something that I train to as well, and that is targeting fast boats. So if during this conflict, Iran decides to destabilize the region further by blocking off the Straits of Hormuz with fast boats and keeping oil from flowing to the rest of the world, the F-15Es have been uniquely trained to target and strafe these fast boats with high explosive incendiary rounds, which is essentially meaning that there's a little tiny bomb on the end of each bullet. So one of these bullets hitting one of these boats is going to rip right through it and disable that boat. But the thing is, Iran, if they did this, they're going to send 50, maybe 100 of these boats in a drone-like swarm. So you're gonna be kept busy, and it's essentially gonna be like whack-a-mole up there in the F-15E. But the strategic communicator for national security, John Kirby, said there is no intention or plan to put American troops on the ground in Israel. And that goes for fighter jets as well. And again, Israel has a massive air force, and their fighter pilots are essentially like special forces operators with the way they train. I've gotten to talk to a few of them before, and there actually was a lot of interoperability with the F-15E and Israel, since they fly a variant of the F-15E. They used to take part in an exercise at Mountain Home Air Force Base, Idaho, to sharpen their skills. That no longer takes place. I can tell you that story in a different video. But the fact of the matter is, these fighter pilots flying for Israel are extremely skilled. Unfortunately, it's going to be essentially all urban combat, and training to that is going to be very difficult. It's going to be a very crazy scenario when they're put in a position to basically be the judge, jury, and executioner. But at the end of the day, Israel's been backed into a corner with this terrorist attack. And as this situation develops, I'll be giving you updates on the F-15E, on the A-10, and on the carrier strike groups, and then overall where I think this conflict may go. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the updates that I'm going to be providing on this situation. And you can go to Patreon and support the channel over there. You'll get some perks if you sign up as well. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. We'll catch you on the next video. Thanks again for watching the video, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. It just helps me to grow the channel, and I really appreciate it. I will see you on one of these videos over here.